In this Midjourney tutorial, I'll show you how to use negative prompting to remove objects and concepts from your images. Not only will I show you examples of what the no parameter can and cannot do, if you stick around till the very end of the video, I'll even show you how to use both positive and negative text weights to construct entire scenes. Hi, it's Christian Heidorn from Tokenized AI, where I show you how to navigate the exciting new world of AI software. If you see value in this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It really makes a huge difference. All of the links and everything I mentioned in this video you can find linked in the description box below. And while you're there, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Alright, welcome back, and today we're going to have a look at negative prompting. Negative prompting is something that a lot of people are not familiar with, and there's multiple ways of doing it, and it's not as simple as it sometimes seems. That's why we're going to have to go through a number of examples to illustrate just how to use it properly. So what exactly is negative prompting in the first place? Well, negative prompting is the process of removing something from your prompt. So for example, when you write your regular prompt, that is an additive process. So what you're doing is you're adding content and information to your prompt, which will be interpreted by Midjourney into some sort of an image. So let's say you write down something like, I don't know, children's room, right? That in itself could be interpreted by Midjourney, but you could also add stuff by entering a comma, and then you would say teddy bear. So it would be children's room, comma, teddy bear. That is an additive process, and that's how most of us write our prompts. However, negative prompting allows you to remove elements from a specific scene or image that you've created or that you have described. So for example, if the children's room already contained a teddy bear that was generated by Midjourney, then I could remove that teddy bear by using a negative prompting. So whilst writing prompts is additive, using negative prompts is subtractive. All right, so unfortunately, Midjourney is one of the tools that, despite being really, really great, is not actually capable of allowing you to edit images specifically in an editor or anything like that. That's something that is called Inpainting, and tools like DALL-E 2 or Stable Diffusion do support these features. However, in Midjourney, you basically cannot do that. I think that limitation is mainly due to the interface that Midjourney has chosen to use, which is Discord. And since it's not a web application, it's actually quite complex to implement that without making it very, very cumbersome. So in Midjourney, however, you do have this feature of negative prompts, which will allow you to remove objects and elements from your images. However, you're not doing it in a way that is as specific and intentional as you would with Inpainting. While in Inpainting, you would specifically actually mark, let's say in this image, I wanted to remove the temple. In Inpainting, I would literally mask the temple and then enter a new prompt, and it would give me a new image without that temple. However, in Midjourney, negative prompting is basically the process of removing concepts from the message that you're sending to Midjourney. I know this sounds a little bit complicated when I explain it, and I'll show you in a minute how it's really done. The thing is that the more complex your scenes become, the less effective this feature is. So you need to understand that it's not meant to be used in very, very complex situations. You can remove a thing here or there, or a concept here or there, but you will not be able to actually edit super specific details of the image. All right? Okay, so there's two ways of doing negative prompting in Midjourney. I'm going to start off with the first one, which is by using the no parameter. And I'm going to just point out that a lot of people mentioned that I was pronouncing the word parameter incorrectly. I was saying parameter. I apologize. I will continue to say parameter from now on. I don't know why. Anyway, so there's the no parameter, and the other option is using negative image text weights. So we're going to start off with the no parameter, and I'm going to show you example number 1. So we're going to enter a prompt, let's say very simple one, birthday cake, and let's see what it generates for us. All right, so let's have a quick look, and it's given us these beautiful birthday cakes, which I would never eat, to be honest, because they look super, super sweet, and I don't know, it's just not my thing. Anyway, but what I want to do now is I want to show you how I'm going to remove a particular element or concept from these images. So we have these 4 birthday cakes. The 4th one actually already doesn't have a candle, but let's say we have these other 3 ones and I want to remove that particular candle because I don't want a birthday cake with candles. So what I'm also going to do here is I'm going to actually use one of these images to continue. And just in case you haven't activated this yet, you need to activate remix mode in order to work based off an existing image and literally take that image and just change something very tiny. So I've activated remix mode, and what happens then is that when I specifically pick this image, which is version 3 or variation 3, I'm going to get this remix prompt. And in this remix prompt, I am simply going to add the no parameter plus the object or the thing or the concept that I want to remove. And in this case, it's going to be candles. I'm going to hit submit and we'll wait for it to generate. All right, so let's have a real quick look. I was a bit worried there for a second because I thought I saw candles here. But I'll explain this in a minute. So first of all, what you can notice is that we have 4 cakes and they all look roughly similar to the original one that we picked. I must say I'm actually not a fan of the new ones, but the key thing is that we have removed the candles, or the candle in this case. And however, you might be wondering, well, why do we still have these long thingies here? Well, the problem is that when you use the remix feature, you're telling Midjourney to specifically use this composition, right? So Midjourney is looking for alternatives to place around this location here. However, you've told Midjourney not to put candles in the image. So that's why it's used these sort of replacement objects. You could, of course, have simply entered this entire prompt separately and as a new imagine command, and you would have gotten, you probably would have gotten a whole bunch of cakes without candles, but they would have been all slightly different and they would not have stuck to this composition. Okay, now I'm going to show you another example now where this feature doesn't work the way you would want it to work. Basically, negative prompting in Midjourney doesn't work well if you if you have very, very clearly defined concepts in your prompt. So for example, in this case, it's a cake, like a birthday cake. And if I then added no cake, that would not work. Midjourney would still give me a cake because it's very difficult for it to remove the cake from a concept of a birthday cake. And I've said cake a lot of times now. So let me show you this with a different example. Close up of a beautiful woman. And we're going to have a look at what this looks like. Okay, and we get exactly what we would expect, right? Now, I'm going to attempt to do something which will not work. And it would be quite weird if that actually worked because, well, it would defeat the purpose of interpreting prompts properly. So let's say I want to remove the eyes of these people. I know that would look freakishly scary, but I just want to do it. Now, I could use the remix feature here, but my fear is that if I do that, it will use the information in this image, and because there already are eyes in this image, it will try to replace them with something that will potentially look like eyes. So what I'll do is I'm going to enter this whole prompt one more time. Of a beautiful woman, and I will then just add no eyes. Now, I can tell you this already, this will not work, but I'm going to show you live. Let's see. Okay, so it's almost done. I'm just going to quickly show you that we can already see that these women have eyes. And so clearly what we tried to achieve did not work at all. And why is that? Because the image of or the close-up image of a beautiful woman as a concept is inextricably linked to that woman having eyes, right? So Midjourney is not capable of interpreting that in a way that would give you what you want. So you need to, when you're trying to do negative prompts, you need to try to use it on scenes or images where you're trying to remove something that is not a core part of the concept of the image. And in this case, the whole image is this one concept, and so you can't remove it from there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a far more abstract prompt, something more creative, more artsy, something that could be a title of a movie or a title of a book. And we're going to use that as a starting point. Okay, let's have a real quick look. And as you'd expect, yes, there's tons of different interpretations of nature's meadow. Most of them have trees, landscape, grass, some water here and there, flowers. And in this particular case, there's some butterflies even. So what I'm going to do here is, though, I want to remove the flowers. Okay. And in this particular case, even though the concept of a nature's meadow will contain flowers as well, it contains a whole bunch of things, right? And the meadow in itself doesn't necessarily need to have flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that variation number 1, and I'm going to remix it. And I'm going to remove the flowers. And what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to expand on the concept. So, because I do want to have animals in there now. So I'm going to say nature's meadow and the animal kingdom. But please do not show me any flowers. And let me just make sure there's no space. And it's going to use the concept, it's going to use the concept and the composition of that specific image that I've chosen. So it will not look the same, but it will have a similar shape of the composition. So let's have a real quick look. Okay, and let's just have a quick look at the original. This was this one here, the top left. And now let's look at the images. Now, what I can already see is that, okay, there is, maybe in Midjourney doesn't qualify this as a flower, who knows? But there's a whole bunch of animals in here now, as you can see. We have roughly the same composition. We have a meadow, there's mountains. It's similar, but it has completely removed any sign of flowers. Now, we can take this one step further, and let's say I wanted to also remove I don't mind the butterflies all that much, but let's say I wanted to remove the birds. I don't want birds. Well, we can, let's use this one. This one's prettier. Well, we can do that too. So we'll remix variation number 2, and I'm going to leave everything the same, except that I'm going to add another no birds. And in this case, you can actually use this parameter twice. Right, so it's not an issue because this instance of the parameter is specific to that word, and here it's specific to that word. Okay, so let's see what happens this time. Okay, and here we go. Again, let's have a real quick look at the original, which was this image here, and let's open up the new ones. And now we've got, well, something that resembles nature's meadow with no flowers, no birds, and a whole bunch of animals in there. Now, one thing you may have noticed is that with each step of complexity that we've added, the image becomes more and more abstract. This already looks kind of weird, right? Because it kind of looks like somebody superimposed animals onto, I don't know, somebody cut out images of animals and stuck them onto a random landscape. This is something that you'll see over and over again as you add more complexity into a prompt like this, especially when you're using negative prompts. It doesn't always turn out this way. It really depends on how you're doing everything. And the main reason is I actually don't know what the main reason is in this case, but you're moving away from very, very natural looking, realistic scenes. And every time you add an additional layer of complexity, it just becomes more abstract and not necessarily nicer. So that's just the point is just to show you how this changes the whole flow. Now, you might be wondering, so what exactly is the other means of doing negative prompting? Well, the no parameter, as we've been entering so far all the time, is nothing else than, it's actually equivalent to something that is called a text weight. And so using no on a word like candle is the same thing. Candle is the same thing as entering candle, 2 colons, and then minus 0.5 in your prompt. Because, why did I type another typo? And that's why you can actually add multiple instances of the no parameter, because all you're actually doing is you're just telling Midjourney, I'm giving this particular word or sentence or concept a weighting of minus 0.5, which essentially says remove it. Okay? And you can actually do all of this just by using text weights. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here now, simply because text weights should be an entire separate video for themselves. However, I want to give you an example of how we could have done this in with text weights. So instead of using the no parameter, I would have entered nature's meadow and the animal kingdom, and I would have given this a weighting of 1, which is default. So if I don't enter 1, it will give it a default weighting of 1. I'm just going to enter 1 anyway. And then I could have added flowers with minus 0.5, and I could have added birds with minus 0.5. And that would be absolutely equivalent to the previous example that we used. The only difference is that in this case, I'm generating a whole set of new images. However, I've done this before, and I can tell you that the results may look more varied, but they are still super abstract. Now, I don't want to show you this example in full detail now. However, I am going to give you an example of how this does turn out quite nice. So I'm going to use Rocky Mountain Landscape. I'm going to give it a weighting of 1, which means default. It's like my main thing. And then I'm also going to say that I want it in winter. I'm then going to add a buffalo herd, which in this case, I want to be particularly important in this scene. So what I would expect is to get a landscape that looks like it's winter, and there's and the buffalo herd would be, there would be a special emphasis on that. So I would expect them to be fairly big in the image. And what I'm going to do though is I do not want to have trees. So I want to have just like a field, like in the prairie. And what I also don't want is, even though it's winter, I do not want to see any snow. And then I would simply enter this, and this would be another example of negative prompting. And let's see what happens. All right, so this is just finishing up its processing, but what you can already see is that we are getting exactly what I wanted. And it's actually quite awesome. Have a look at this image. So we've gotten my Rocky Mountain landscape. It is also clearly in winter. We have the buffalo herd, which has been emphasized. So there's a big buffalo here, there's a one here. It's really, it's not entirely balanced. So there's more emphasis there. There's not a single tree that I can find. There is a tree line over there, but I think that does not necessarily qualify. And there's no snow, even though it's clearly in winter. And so this is an example of how you can craft scenes using text weights and use negative prompting within those text weights to control which pieces of information are removed and which are not. And you can build some really, really amazing things by using a combination of the two. You could have also rewritten this whole prompt and literally just replaced this one with no snow or this one with no trees and left the others just the same, and you would have had to do that because otherwise you would not have been able to give the buffalo herd a stronger weighting of 2. But I don't know. I guess it depends a little bit on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to remove a simple little thing, then just adding no something will be probably more effective or more efficient, quicker. The point being, negative prompting is not a perfect science. It is a process of trial and error. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not work. You will probably have to play around with it until you get to the ultimate result that you actually are trying to achieve. It is definitely not meant to be used in the way that you would do Inpainting in DALL-E 2 or in Stable Diffusion. I would not rule out the possibility that someday Midjourney actually implements a Inpainting feature as well. But for the time being, this is the only way how you can actually remove and subtract pieces of information from the overall image. All right, so I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the full length of this video. If you found it useful and enjoyed it, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button. And if you would like to get notified the next time I release a new video, make sure you smash that subscribe button right under the screen. I'll see you next time, and take care.